Man, treating that like a back-breaking chore, isn't it? There we go. See what we got first. Okay. Got that. That's better. Now let's pull rumble or kick over here. There. Perfect. Okay, how's everyone doing? How y'all doing? How's everyone? Ooh. I gotta shut this window here. Makes it a little easier. Hey. How's everyone doing today? You doing okay here? No? Fresh all this. Now it's all working. Rumble or kick does not seem to. No, it is. Cool. There we go. Got it now. All right. Cool. All right. There we go. Is everything looking good on here? I'm going to check the stream. Oh, that's a video I want to watch later. Okay, I watched that already. See that? Yep. Everything looks great. Okay, cool. Hopefully everything... Okay. Hey, FDDNM. Doing pretty good. How you doing, man? Would you like many viewers? Let's make you popular. Ugh. So many bots. So many bots on Kick. What's weird is I keep getting followers on Kick, and none of them ever show up, ever. It's weird. So I'm assuming they're bots too, but they're just people that don't, like, comment, and I've never seen their name, so... I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. It's very, very bizarre. So anyway, I'm just waiting on a few more people to get in here. I've sent notifications out. Waiting for this. And then we're going to watch this Turkey Tom video. How long is this Turkey Tom video? It's 47 minutes. Okay. We should have enough time to watch that. I guess Tyler Robinson's Discord's leaked. And all the Discord messages leaked. And Turkey Tom. I said Tommy again, didn't I? Tyler Robinson. Good Lord. That's crazy that I call him Tommy. Hey, you said the name right. Going to be a busy day shortly. Yeah, right? Oh, man. Tyler Robinson. Wait, did I say Tyler Robinson the first time? I think I said Tommy. Didn't I? Did I catch myself? Or... But yeah, we're going to watch this. It's, apparently all the messages have leaked here. And, yeah. It's going to be a doozy to go through. Really, kind of puts a whole wrench in, what Candace Owens was saying. It's kind of ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that she's been going around espousing all this garbage without giving any evidence whatsoever. If she would have just dropped evidence, you know, instead of playing around, maybe people would believe her. But, you know, it is what it is. If y'all are new here, please definitely subscribe. Give a like. Really helps out a lot. we'll have a lot of fun watching this. I'm just waiting on a few more people to kind of join in, and then we're going to cut right into it. You guys could let me know how y'all are doing. Hope everything's going well. It's been absolutely wild on the Candace Owens videos that I have been releasing. I mean, these people are coming at me like Destiny's chat. They just go and look at me and they go, oh, wow, look at you. You look gross. And I'm like, okay. Anything I said that was incorrect in the video, by the way, and they're just like, well, you're dumb. You know, and they spell your without the R-E on it. Like, all right, well. All right. You know, apostrophe R-E is what I meant to say. But, yeah. You know, just, it's amazing. People are amazing. Alrighty, let's go ahead and, I guess let's get this started, right?
I'd like to start this video by saying that I'm a little bit out of my depth here, considering the gravity of what I'm about to show you guys, but I'm going to try my best.
Oh, it's too loud.
With that out of the way, let's get a few basic facts straight. The date is September 10th, 2025. Charlie Kirk is shot and killed. Over the next few days, law enforcement and internet investigators pore over the available information to identify the killer. Eventually, they determine it to be Tyler Robinson, and they also realize that Tyler has a transgender romantic partner named Lance Twiggs. Tyler is arrested.
I mean, the thing about it is it's so easy. Yeah, I don't know why I'm so quiet. This microphone has had a real proximity effect as of late. I hope it's not like kind of going microphonic or something. It'd be a little weird. This isn't like, you know, this is like a 5-year-old microphone, maybe? You know, it's odd. Or this compressor's just clamping down way too hard. Let me see, let me check real quick. Actual compressor here. What do I have it set to? Because it should be, oh, it's 10-1. What is going on with that? Oh, hold on. I'm typically like a 5-1 person here. Wow. Why was that compressor just hitting it so hard? Okay, anyway, we'll get back into this. But yeah, anyway, so what I was saying is simply the fact that he is with a transgender person. Charlie Kirk was very openly outspoken against the transgender, you know, community and what they were doing, showing how violent they were, Trantifa, you know, all that good stuff. It's reason to believe that with Antifa, trans people and all them being so ridiculously violent that they would absolutely commit this crime. It's not like it's out of the realm of possibility at all. In fact, it's the most likely thing, and it's exactly what we're witnessing, and yet Candace Owens wants to try and put it towards her hatred for Israel without any evidence whatsoever. Even if Israel was the worst country on the planet, it's like, what are the chances, right, that the United States would allow something like this to happen? You know what I mean? Because if this was Israel, clearly, the United States would be covering it up. But at the end of the day, why wouldn't it just be a federal agent who had done the job on behest of Israel? Like, isn't that a little strange? Don't y'all think that's just a little weird? In my opinion, I think it's a little weird that Israel would have been behind this, as Candace was saying. And then now she's saying Donald Trump's behind it, so guess Donald Trump's a pretty good shot from far away, huh? Doesn't even make any sense. It's crazy. And I have people coming in here actually genuinely trying to tell me that she never said Donald Trump did it. Isn't that mind-blowing? It's actually mind-blowing that people are trying to weasel her out of what she said. There's no other way to interpret what she said other than she said, you know, when they give you a holiday, they killed you. Who gave him the holiday? There's only one person who gave Charlie Kirk the holiday. That was Donald Trump. And she even said right before that, she goes, I've completely lost faith in Trump and MAGA in general. Did she say MAGA? I think she just said Trump, right? I can't remember. So anyway, let's go ahead with this, though. It's just crazy, because it's like, who else did it? It was only Trump.
Lance cooperates with the police and then disappears from the public eye. 13 days later, I released a video going over all of the publicly available information about Tyler and Lance. Articles, witness testimony, Lance's TikTok and Reddit accounts, and I thought that was it. But then I received a message. This message was from a third party who was close to both of them and remained in contact for 6 years up until the attack took place. They reached out to me providing never before seen information on the lead.
Is this like some of the video that Candace is putting out there when the guy's like, I got video of, you know what happened, the FBI is trying to get me to delete it? You know what I mean? See, this is the thing, right? Candace arbitrarily shared that. Let me show you guys real quick, because this is beyond wild. I can't believe this is just what they do. This is exactly what they do. Let me show you guys. So, where is it? This is it, right? Any proof the FBI tried to get you to delete this, okay? Is what I asked. Breaking, FBI destruction of evidence. Ryan Simmons says the FBI tried to get him to delete this Charlie Kirk assassination video. Is why we've gotten so little footage from the witness. This is crazy, right? So
originally when I sent this video into the FIB,
I can hardly hear this.
Not counting gang violence.
Okay, I don't want to see that. 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 Okay. So he shows that angle of just that. It doesn't show anything. So it doesn't make any sense that the FBI, if they were behind this video doesn't reveal a single thing. Not a single thing. Okay? So why would they want him to delete this, you know?
For tips. I thought I was doing a service.
And, to Charlie and helping out.
So
it started. I think I could crank this up
the
for you
local
guys.
field office there in my local
I can't
state.
do this very well, though.
And then it jumped up a few levels. Then I was talking to someone on like the national level. That person had called me back and they had said, because this was your friend, I think it's best that you erase the video from your phone because it's just going to give you PTSD. And then called it another time to ask if I had erased it.
Okay. Do you have any proof of that, though?
That was the first time that I felt like it was even right to post these videos. That was on my other account that was gone and just was removed after 5 years of building it. But so I got a call back and was asked to confirm that it was gone. And again, that's when I started sharing, posting, and saving on many different hard drives in many different places. It's been crazy. It's been rough.
Can you just show us, like, just flash us the phone that the FBI had called you? Anything? Like, see, that's the problem that I have with this. Candace Owens shared this, okay? Like, it's not hard to back your claim when things like this happen. Very, very easy. You probably get a call on your phone, say on the screen, FBI. You could at least post the number and, you just show us that actually indeed happened. Right? I'm not necessarily saying this guy's wrong. Maybe they're calling and maybe they're checking in with this guy and they're like, hey, we actually just have this footage and it's the same. Because the thing about it is when you go to it, right? This doesn't show anybody in the crowd. I mean, this guy here, you see this guy, right? But there's nothing in his hand. This is the people that they were suspecting that did it. It's an interesting angle. He is smiling. That's weird, right? But this person's looking away. They're not even shocked. This guy's shocked. Very, very shocked, you could see. This person doesn't really know what's going on. Everyone else, this person's film, I don't think a lot of these people knew what happened there. Some of these people didn't know what happened. That angle of that guy is weird. You know? No doubt about it. But here's the thing. We've had this video for a long time. We've had this angle for a long time. This has been, like, this is the one that the person that they think had the palm pistol. Okay? The fact that they kept trying to say, is it deleted, when it was out there, like, pretty much, like, instantly. It doesn't make much sense to me, you know? And then he zooms in on this part for some reason, which is, strange enough. And then that's it. It's, unless there's more footage to it than this. You know what I mean? But he didn't release that in this video. He could have. It's really, really, really bizarre to me. Right? But that's where he leaves it at. You know what I mean? He says that photos and videos are being deleted from his phone. Can you, like, back that claim?
Can someone explain to me how you can literally have stuff on your phone, have a couple posts that you post on TikTok, still have, 20 other videos that you've luckily saved on hard drives that aren't connected to the internet, and then they're all just gone from your phone? They're erased from your phone? Guys, you guys keep asking. We haven't seen anyone from this angle. People aren't talking from this angle. People aren't talking and posting their footage. People's footage is getting erased off their phones. People are being silenced. People are being targeted.
I need proof. I need absolute proof of that, man, because I haven't seen. Think about it. There's so many people who could be posting stuff right now. They've only told you. They haven't come out on the internet and said, "Hey, oh, this video I took was like gone." They have no evidence of it at all.
And it's
For real?
it's getting crazy, guys. I don't know where this comes from or what's going on, but yesterday I thought it was an overload because of the followers and comments.
This guy sounds like he could do a really, really good Chris Griffin impression. I'm not even kidding. This sounds like the original Chris Griffin, like Seth Green's original Chris Griffin, you know, from like season 1, where he's just a little low voiced. Just imagine old, like the first season Chris Griffin. He could pitch it up though, and I bet he could sound like him. Just a fun thing that I was listening to. I was like, why does his voice sound familiar? And I was like, oh yeah, just listen to that.
Comments and all this stuff like that. So I had to turn off my notifications. And then later on, when I assessed the situation, I figured out, no, my phone turning different colors and feeling like it's lagging when I'm typing and all this weird stuff, and watching it type different things that I'm not typing. Just a bunch of strange things. I know I sound like a cuckoo when I'm saying this,
Yeah,
but
I'd say
woke up
so.
today and a bunch of my videos are gone. Not from TikTok, from my library. So luckily, I have one of my hard drives with them, and I'm going to getting every video that I can out to you guys. Please save. Save them, screen record them, spread them. Do everything you can. Literally,
I mean, that's good policy. There's no doubt about that. That's good policy to have. Always put it all over the internet. But the thing about it is if they were capable of going through people's phones and doing that, like, it's not that they're not capable, but if they were doing that, I feel like a lot of this stuff that made it to the internet would be disappearing much more quickly as well. Like, a lot of this stuff was posted by, like, libs of TikTok and other people like that, and those videos are still there. So why wouldn't these prominent accounts, Alex Jones probably has quite a few. You know, there's a lot of people, and I haven't seen that any of these videos have been deleted off the internet at all, actually. So isn't it a little strange that this guy can't really back it? You know what I mean? Like, for all we know, like, and I doubt it, but for all we know, he's got a phone that's completely max capacity, and stuff's getting deleted in favor of other video that he's taken or something. I just don't know. I genuinely can't know that without him giving us the information. It's just take our word for it. You know what I mean? That's kind of the big problem that I have. Anyway, sorry to get so sidetracked, but let's get back to watching this. I'm only a minute into this. Don't worry, you haven't missed much at all, Destroyer. Nothing's really been missed. We're just now getting into this video. I was just talking about, like, how Candace has just posted stuff or retweeting stuff without any information at all in it to corroborate it. No evidence whatsoever. And then again, this guy's like, hey, things are happening that are strange I can't explain with no proof whatsoever. And it's like, that's just what it is every single time these people talk about, like, the government getting involved in Charlie Kirk's whole ordeal. You know what I mean? It's like, or Israel being involved. Something like that. It's beyond strange to me. You know what I mean? It's beyond strange.
Lead up to what happened. To my knowledge, the only other people who have this are the FBI. Now, as I go
Dang it, it would not pause. I'm sorry, guys. That blew your eardrums out.
over this information, you'll notice that some of it is redacted, but I've redacted it myself with the exclusive intention to preserve the anonymity of both this person and other people who are named, who have nothing to do with Tyler's crime. Now, keep in mind, these claims are being made by an anonymous leaker. There could be more to certain events that we're simply not aware of,
Just gotta love that term, anonymous leaker. Great.
and other details that may explain more of the story. Additionally, some of this video is my opinion.
Oh, you just missed it. I'll fill you in real quick. Candace retweeted somebody that said that, you know, video is getting deleted off of his phone, and the FBI is trying to get him to delete footage of Charlie Kirk, and they provide absolutely no evidence whatsoever. It's nothing crazy. She just retweeted a different guy making claims, baseless claims, and now we're watching the Discord leaks here. Turkey Tom got a hold of him. I guess Turkey Tom has some serious beef with the quartering, and the only thing I can think of is I got into a argument with Turkey Tom about Bill Burr. And all I know is, like, you know, obviously the quartering, he's been after Bill Burr. He's been really covering Bill Burr a lot lately. And I was telling Turkey Tom, I was like, hey, Bill Burr's making quite the hypocrite out of himself. He was like, he's just a comedian. Really, you're taking him seriously? Type argument. He's like, it's just a comedian. That was his only argument. He couldn't actually... Turkey Tom could not form a good argument whatsoever for Bill Burr. And I think because Jeremy's probably been covering a lot of, Bill Burr shenanigans, I think that's why he's got him blocked. But yeah, Turkey Tom apparently has gone out of his way to block the quartering, and no one really knows why. But if I had to take a guess, that's probably it. It was the only argument I got into with Turkey Tom in general, and I'm really disappointed. I'm genuinely disappointed in that, that the only argument he could make on that was just, oh, he's a comedian. And it's like, really? So he just gets a free pass to be a hypocrite? And then it got worse, obviously. He went to the Middle East and performed after he heavily criticized somebody for doing the same thing. And it's just like, cool. Good job, man.
And should be treated as such. But I've done my best to provide you all with the information
But
I'm
I don't know
able
if
to
Turkey
share
Tom's
to
changed
the
his
extent
mind.
it can be
He could've.
verified. In his first message to me, this person said, "Hello, I just watched your video on the Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler and thought you did a good job. I happen to know Tyler and Lance in real life. I don't take a lot of pictures, so I can't prove it very well, but I am in Discord servers where both of them are, including the one where Tyler posted his confession. I have some pictures of the apartments and some stories I can tell." There were 2 pictures attached underneath. One of Tyler's confession in the Discord chat that matched the ones published by Ken Klippenstein, which were then republished by every major news outlet. The other picture is a completely original photo of local police at Tyler Robinson and Lance Twiggs' place, taken from across the street. For the sake of verification, he later also provided me with...
Now, it's not that this couldn't be planted, and given to Turkey Tom by the government. They could have just sent an anonymous email like, oh, he'll pick this up. He'll look through this. He'll put all the pieces together, and he'll do a video over it probably. Could be. Turkey Tom's the Fed, right? Again, I would need proof, and Candace Owens would not provide it. But I wonder what she's going to say about Turkey Tom's video. I wonder if she'll mention it. I'm going to keep a close eye out for it.
With archives of the 3 Discord servers they shared, which I'll eventually go over the relevant parts of. Once this person's identity was verified, he proceeded to tell me about the state of Tyler and Lance's living space. The apartment would drastically shift from clean to super dirty, depending on the state of Lance's mood. I don't have too many pictures of most of the mess, but basically, he'd start living in the living room and just start turning it into his nest. After the first roommate moved,
That's so gross. That is so freaking nasty. I hate it when that happens. And I'm not gonna like name names per se, but I've kind of been in that situation where, I've had my area, friends in general come in that were, and I don't think they're like that today or anything like that. We were just kids, we were young, but it drove me nuts back then. I always remembered like finding stuff under my couches that I was like, how in the hell did this get here? That's disgusting, you know what I mean? Just food and stuff like that. And it would drive me nuts, But again, kids, we do silly stuff, you know what I mean? We were like in our 20s.
Moved out, and right after Tyler moved in like 2 weeks later, Lance had a really big breakdown. The living room went from a place guests came over to something that had to be hid. People still came over, but everyone got weirded out by all the trash. He basically had layers of wires, random Temu trinkets, decorations, random art projects, clothes, and empty alcohol containers everywhere. And
okay, all of that stuff sounds like you would deliberately, have that with a trans person, you know what I mean? All of this stuff sounds like exactly what you would see just decorated around a, a trans individual. Lots of, obvious, short attention span, obviously going through hormone crashes and stuff, and it's just, keeping, things trying to keep yourself together and occupied while you're having a mental break or something, you know what I mean? And if anyone touched it, he'd get livid. Yeah, that sounds exactly like somebody just, it's essentially I don't understand this. Why the trans community so, plays so dumb about this. How is this any different than roid raging? You know what I mean? And everybody gets made fun of for doing that. If you're injecting roids and going to the gym and stuff like that, you know what I mean? You get made fun of because it's really stupid to do that. How in the world is, hormone, therapy there when you're transitioning any different? Genuinely, how is that any different? Of course they're going to be losing their freaking minds. It's just so wild to me. It's like, hey, this probably causes mental illness. And they're like, shut up. No, it doesn't. It's like, okay, have you, apparently this is no different than their toxic masculinity, but they're allowed to do it.
If anyone touched it, he would get livid. One friend got banned from the apartment for a while because he kept touching the Temu trinkets. I wish I still had pictures.
he wouldn't stop touching them. That's so funny. I don't know why, but it's like, okay, don't touch my stuff. And this guy's like, just messing with it still. Like, why? Oh my god, they all sound like assholes. This is so hilarious.
But I felt sort of guilty and deleted them since I knew Lance wasn't in the right state of mind. For context, I've been playing games with Lance and Tyler for like 6 years.
This guy, it'd be hilarious if this guy was the one that wouldn't stop touching it. Like the one that sent all these messages. It was this guy that kept touching the Temu items. That'd be so funny.
I count myself kind of close to them, but I was trying to separate them from myself because being around them wasn't good for me. I say them, but
Yeah.
Tyler was always level-headed
look at the
and
end result.
easygoing. But Lance could be
They murdered a guy. Well, I say they. One of them murdered a guy. You know what I mean? Of course, I wouldn't want to be around him like that either.
anywhere from too depressed to talk to manic, wide-eyes, crazy person. I'll take a brief moment here to comment on the fact that in my original video, this is more or less the impression that I had, judging exclusively from Lance's more significant and expressive online presence relative to Tyler's almost non-existent digital paper trail. From Lance's Reddit account and the things his family members had to say about him, he clearly was more outspoken and in some ways unstable. There were Reddit posts of his mentioning being at odds with his family to the point of being kicked out.
Let's read this real quick. This is interesting. Was told I was possessed by a demon, and then within 30 minutes kicked out of the house because I started laughing and wouldn't go to the bishop for a blessing. Later I found out they just didn't like me and were looking for a way to get me out of the house. Wasn't even 18 at the time. Well, sounds like you had some actual pretty garbage parents. I wonder why you turned out the way you did. Oh, yeah. Seems pretty likely. I get it, you know. They're religious, but actually, I got a buddy whose mom is incredibly religious. And, well, I say buddy. I mean, I still count him as my buddy, but he's just a homeless guy now. Just completely homeless. He doesn't accept help from anyone. It's very strange. And it's because his mom, is a Seventh-day Adventist. And she's also deaf, but she treated him like he was possessed. He was not allowed to be inside the house ever during the day, only at nighttime. So he was, like, from 6 a.m., he was kicked out of his house, and he wasn't allowed to go back into his house till 9 p.m. And I felt so bad for him, but I didn't really understand what was truly going on in his life. And so I feel very guilty, because he'd stay at my house all the time. It started off with him knocking on the door asking for water, and then he just pretty much regularly became like kind of like a roommate, except we would always go around town and walk everywhere. I'd bring, we'd go to the store, get some sodas, we'd bring some water, and we'd walk all over our town. And it was due to just, unfortunately, his mom being a complete and total psycho and heavily religious. And she treated him like this for so long, telling him that he was possessed by a demon. Eventually, he started spray painting pentagrams on his wall and acting like he was possessed. Drove him absolutely crazy, and now he lives the life he is. He was one of the smartest people I ever knew. He was an incredible sign language interpreter, and he could play guitar so well. And his life is in total shambles because of the way she treated him. It's disturbing,
And he had also
But that's not to say that religion's bad. It's crazy people who are bad. Just want to get that out there.
discussed a lot of substance abuse issues, which are a far cry from the quiet, even if uneasy relationship that Tyler seemed to have with his family. What was completely unknown, and as far as I know, hasn't been published anywhere, is this combination of hoarding and mania that this person describes Lance as exhibiting. The messages continue. During this first nest phase, Lance started working very rarely. He worked with his dad for a tub.
Wait, was Andrew Tate convicted? I thought he was just under investigation at the moment, right? And has a court date. Was he actually convicted? I'll have to look into that. I haven't kept up with that in a while. During this first nest phase, Lance started working very rarely. He worked with his dad for a tub repair company. They'd either repair tubs or installed them at construction sites. Okay.
repair company. They'd either repair tubs
Oh, he's
or
reading
install them at construction sites. But when Lance was super depressed or
Sometimes
just
he
too
does
manic,
something.
he'd take the day off and
Hey,
hit his
Alexander.
THC vape, drink, and scroll reels. Anyway, 2 weeks before Lance's first nest phase, when the apartment was mostly normal, Tyler moved in with Lance because he'd just dropped out of college and was tired of living with his parents. He had been working with his dad at a stone cutting business where they'd install countertops. Tyler
See, now he stopped reading it. And, well, wait. Did he? I guess
was
I
kind
lost
of
my
your
place.
normal blue-collar Utah guy. Most conversations with him, he'd
Maybe the
talk
video's a
hunting,
little off.
camping, gaming, and he loved to talk about fishing. Now, first off, the combination of depressants with cognitive stimulants are leading factors to severe anxiety, paranoia, depression, and even psychosis. And that's without mentioning the documented connection between weed and schizophrenia. Obviously, as I assume most of you know, weed basically has two components, THC and CBD. CBD is not psychoactive, and it's often associated with treatments for anxiety, pain, and inflammation. Meanwhile, THC is psychoactive, and despite it also having some therapeutic uses in the treatment of nausea and side effects of chemotherapy, THC is the component of marijuana that's associated with symptoms like paranoia, psychosis, and, like previously mentioned, schizophrenia. Now, obviously, the vast majority of stoners or casual smokers are not exhibiting these symptoms. This is not a typical thing, but in certain people who are predisposed,
There is a sickness. So there is a new kind of disease cropping up with this. Just want to let you guys know. My wife's a nurse, and, with it becoming legalized and all that, there is a sickness that's actually from cannabis that gets very, very, very common from people who smoke a lot. And that's whenever you get this chronic sickness where you'll have to literally stop smoking for like a year to detox, or you just won't stop being able to. It's pretty much like, it's really weird. You just keep throwing up a lot. A lot. And you don't want to get it. I need to ask her what it's called again. But they get people in the hospital for it all the time because they'll be losing too much fluids, It's kind of like, it's like a crazy case of like food poisoning almost, except it's all neurological. And so they got to obviously hook them up and keep them hydrated and whatnot. But, and obviously to be able to keep solids down, like, so they give you a feeding tube. But yeah, it's pretty brutal. One of those things that it just sucks. So you don't never want to do too much of anything. Just letting you know. You never know what you're going to find once things are legalized, and now we can explore it to the fullest.
THC can absolutely trigger a sort of psychotic meltdown, or it can compound with other mental health issues to make them just much, much worse. In Lance's case, it sounds like he was using way too much pot, while simultaneously drinking heavily and scrolling reels. If there's any way someone can derive psychosis and mania from first principles, this is definitely up there. Now, in my original video about this topic, I mentioned that there were two specific periods of change for Lance and Tyler by extension. The first was 2020, when the pandemic hit, locking everyone inside their houses and apartments, and therefore driving them to spend a lot more time on the old computer. And as the Discord logs are going to show later, it's probably when Lance and Tyler started to communicate the most frequently, even if they were already gaming and talking prior. The second period was during 2024, which is when Tyler moved into the apartment with Lance. And as their anonymous peer here is saying, within 2 weeks of Tyler being there, Lance began his nest phase, as he puts it. Funnily enough, the one other
Man, that grosses me out so much. That absolutely grosses me out. I cannot get behind that at all. Like, just pick your stuff up, guys. Like, don't do that.
instance I've ever heard of making a nest in your living room.
Oh, also, if you guys are new, please definitely subscribe and like. It helps out a lot.
Comes from Theo Vaughn talking about what he did during binges of the white dust kind of stimulant, if you know what I mean.
I remember that. I'll make a nest in my living room, dude. Boy.
And more than anything else you can think of.
Turn you into a damn owl, homie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You'll be out on your own porch,
Yeah.
Well, this description is obviously played up in its
amazing.
context. It's actually
I can't believe that he straight up told the president of the United States, "Are you ever done cocaine?" It's like, you're asking this to the president of the United States? The answer is no. Absolutely not. Even if it's true, guess what the answer is? It's still no. What are you, insane? But hey, at least, man, why is my play and pause button not working?
a pretty common experience to start hoarding while in states of paranoid mania, which is what Lance appeared to be going through. From his Reddit history, we know that Lance used to be a big fan of Jordan Peterson, who is widely known as the clean your room guy, repeatedly harping on how your living space reflects your psyche. If this leaker is telling the truth, then it would make sense that as Lance's mental state deteriorated, so did the physical space around him. With all of that information regarding Lance being corroborated by these messages,
so he was like into being right-wing for a bit, and then had slowly kind of started losing his whole like area, I guess you could say. Probably due to his trans boyfriend. I wonder how that happened that way.
We also have the reveal that Tyler
it.
had dropped out of college and decided of his own volition to move out. In my original video, we had the information that he was in an electrical apprenticeship program at Dixie Technical College. But based on these messages, it seems he dropped out and was just working at a masonry business with his dad.
That was such a good school to be in. Like, doing stuff like that, like getting all your certifications, like the amount of money you can make in that field is absolutely, nah, I won't make the joke. It's ridiculous. I was going to say electric, but, you know.
Again, this matches the picture of Tyler that one can derive from all of the testimonies regarding what kind of person he was. So, after about 5 years or so of being friends with Lance, he decides to move in with him. But at this point, there's no sign that the two are engaged in a romantic relationship. Their peer...
Really? You don't think there's any possible way that the man with the gun shot at Charlie Kirk? I don't know about that one. I think probably the most likely shooter would have been the guy with the gun.
Continues. I felt super bad when he first moved in with Lance because it was normal for like 2 weeks, and then Lance went nuts, and the entire downstairs just became his nest. He'd be doing experiments in the kitchen, which were mostly just growing mold in Tupperware mugs, and the kettle with random Temu trinkets and rocks submerged in them. Every once in a while, I'd try to have a talk with Lance and try to get him to realize he needed help without making him go ballistic. Now, this is actually bizarre. One of the things I didn't pay that much attention to in my first video about this was that Lance made 2 posts regarding growing fungi. One of them in r/mushroom growers, and another one of them...
Oh god, what if it was like not the magic kind though? He's just into weird fungi growing. I hope that's not the case. By the way, guys, if you're new here, definitely hit that like button and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Ew. Of course he's into... I wonder if he was trying to grow them like in his freaking nest field or something like that. Please, if it goes this way, I'm gonna get sick to my stomach.
r/shrooms. However, they were very brief non sequiturs that didn't at all give the impression of how deeply invested Lance was into growing mushrooms, which apparently he was, at least during his episodes. The interest in mushrooms peaking when Lance is at his craziest reminds me of the Cult of the Lamb cordyceps that takes over one of the characters and makes him want to grow more mushrooms. This is extremely strange behavior, but my personal autism aside, the messages continue. I'm not going to say it was all just him being insane. His mom is super Mormon and also kind of crazy, so there's that. And all of...
If I did get into mushroom growing, not like the, you know, psychedelic kind or anything like that, you know what I mean? But if I just got into regular mushroom growing, it would be to like put a camera to time lapse because they grow so fast. Like, it's kind of cool to get it on camera, but that would be for the only reason if I ever did anything like that. And it would definitely be in something that's like contained. I wouldn't just like grow them like in random Tupperware.
The drugs. Weed, LSD, shrooms, DMT, and I think he said Molly, but I'm not sure. Also, alcoholic levels of alcohol. Lance has always been a little weird and quirky, but never really crazy. He was constantly arguing with his mom every time he saw her, and then ranting about Republicans and Mormons when he got home. I'd sometimes talk with him for like 4 hours of him just ranting about...
Well, you know, there's people like Jimmy Kimmel and other leftists, you know, was it Harry Sisson? Did Harry Sisson say anything about this? Other Democrats, you know, in general saying that this guy was Republican. Destiny definitely said it was Republican. This kind of really just destroys that, right? Y'all know Destiny? You know, that piece of garbage that has CP on his computer that he admitted to? Yeah, that guy. He tried to say this guy was literally a right-winger and still tries to maintain that position. Wild, huh? Play button.
His mom and family. He really hates Mormons. Also, at the time, politically, Lance and I would both probably describe ourselves as libertarian, and Tyler was very apolitical. On his Reddit account, there is one relatively old post about Lance having substance abuse problems, and you could assume that due to him no longer posting about it, he no longer struggled with it. Apparently, it was the opposite, as over time, it only got worse. And it's really the mention here of DMT that stands out to me. While the other drugs are bad enough and can can permanently damage your brain, especially in combination with each other. Even people who like DMT will tell you about how careful you have to be about using it, even if you try your best to do it in a therapeutic setting. But clearly, Lance was in no state of mind to manage his substance intake in any way that resembled healthy. It almost freaks me out how easily someone like Lance could get his hands on that kind of thing, despite being completely out of his mind for months on end.
Well, the problem is DMT is literally in everything. And if you know what you're doing, you can extract it. It's in many, many different types of plants. It's in many different types of like animals and stuff that you could get it extracted from and stuff. Like it literally is in a lot of different things, and it's in abundance. You just got to know what you're doing. But you got to take it with it won't work unless you take it with what is it, NAO inhibitor or something like that? NAO inhibitor? I'm not entirely sure how the process works specifically. I just have a lot of friends who are into that stuff, and yeah, I've heard of people. No one I know personally, but I've heard of people completely losing their mind on it, and it's it's crazy stuff. But I know a lot of people who have done it. I'll have to ask them about it a little bit more one day.
This set of messages also confirm another suspicion of mine expressed in the first video. Prior to 2024, neither Lance nor Tyler were particularly political, as they only ever expressed opinions that could be loosely classified as socially liberal, which most young Zoomers are by default anyway. However, this changed suddenly and drastically during the year that they lived together. He had his nest phase for probably 3 to 4 months before he sort of went back to normal. But at the tail end of his nest phase, after we had both talked for a while, he told me he was trans and that it wouldn't change anything.
Hey, buddy. Can't get up on the desk. Can't get up on the... What do you want? What do you want? Go get it. What? Go get it. No, don't. Not my shoe. Okay, here. 1 second, guys. I gotta let him out. He's telling me he needs to go outside real quick. Oh. There we go, guys. Sorry about that.
And that I could even use whatever pronouns, and he wouldn't care. Over the next week and a half, the living room got dismantled. He vacuumed and cleaned the kitchen a bit, but he still kept one mold experiment outside for some reason. It was kind of relieving to not see so much trash lying around.
So
we weren't
nasty.
allowed to toss even...
This is weird. Oh. Weird. Is it back now? This is weird. Yeah, I guess it's back. I don't know what that was about. That was only on YouTube. Kick and Rumble were fine. Yeah, it was just a freaking YouTube thing. Thank you so much, YouTube. That's crazy. Yeah, that's okay. I don't know why YouTube did that. Anyway, we didn't miss anything really. I think it was just like a couple seconds. So you can see I was just right here. So yeah. I caught it right whenever it did that. It buffered right when I said nest. Oh, nasty, yeah. I'll get back to that. He left his freaking moldy thing out there and wouldn't let people touch it, but I guess he cleaned up his area or something. So let's get back to that here.
after he became mostly normal. It's interesting to see that him identifying as trans came while he was in his nesting phase,
yeah, thanks for fixing
but
it,
he
guys.
maintained it after it had ended.
I don't know what the heck
it does
that was
startle me
about.
a bit how basically all of Lance's friend
Freaking
group,
YouTube.
who frequently visited Lance and Tyler's house, just kind of tolerated this going on for months. I have no idea how it's possible to put up
Oh, wait. You said right whenever I said nasty, right? Hold on. Maybe that was here.
most young Zoomers are by default anyway. However, this changed suddenly and drastically during the year that they lived together. He had his
There we go. I
nest
think
phase
this is
for
it.
probably 3 to 4 months before he sort of went back to normal. But at the tail end of his nest phase, after we had both talked for a while, he told me he was trans, and that it wouldn't change anything, and that I could even use whatever pronouns, and he wouldn't care. Over
just
the
start
next
from
week
here.
and a half, the living room got dismantled. He vacuumed and cleaned the kitchen a bit, but he still kept one mold experiment outside for
And this is
some some
when I said
reason.
that's
It was
nasty.
kind of relieving to not see so much trash lying around. We weren't allowed to toss even the most mundane trash like napkins and Taco Bell sauce packets, which there was an entire drawer of. So seeing all the cans and bottles disappear was super nice. Whenever we came over, people commented on how it's nice that we could hang out without being scared of accidentally touching trash or a trinket and having Lance freak out.
I mean, that's just, you know, these are how these people are. This is exactly how these people are, and this is what the left constantly keeps defending, and this is what Candace Owens keeps trying to obfuscate from. I don't understand. Like, this person was so absolutely unhinged and was tanking probably the mental health of his boyfriend.
We'd have a mostly weekly Magic the Gathering night at the apartment where everyone would come drink, get high, and play Magic. Lance started attending again after he became mostly normal. It's interesting to see that him identifying as trans came while he was in his nesting phase, but he maintained it after it had ended. It does startle me a bit how basically all of Lance's friend group, who frequently visited Lance and Tyler's house, just kind of talked.
I'll just clarify real quick with you, Ed. Those black marks are redacted like personal info. This was a guy who personally knew Tyler Robinson and Lance and ended up sharing all of these Discord messages with Turkey Tom. This is like an exclusive kind of thing. So Turkey Tom managed to get all the Discord messages here leaked, at least from this guy. So it's actually, this is all brand new information. I didn't know about this. I didn't know that this happened 3 days ago. So, you know, this is crazy stuff. You can't really get it from anywhere else. It's all been delivered to Turkey Tom. This guy may make everything public, but he wanted Turkey Tom to make it public for him, so this is where it is.
Tolerated this going on for months. I have no idea how it's possible to put up with a situation so clearly deranged for that long, but hey, different strokes for different folks. Now, it's this next set of messages that I find really interesting. Between all of his turns while playing Magic, Lance would go hang out with Tyler, and we'd have to call him to the tables every time it was his turn. One of my gym buddies was the first to pick up on Tyler and Lance being really close. I was in denial for months because I thought Tyler was straight, and also I kind of did not want it to be true. Eventually, I kind of snapped out of it like the nth time I saw them asleep, cuddling on the couch. I kind of didn't think too much of it since Lance would get super cuddly every time he got drunk, which is how I think they got together, because I'm pretty sure Tyler was a virgin when he moved in. So probably when Lance was in the cuddly mood, probably something happened, but that's just my guess.
I mean, we don't have to guess about the butts. We really don't. And I don't want to either. That's just, let's just move on from that.
This is where a lot of things start clicking together. Tyler, an introverted gamer who, as far as anyone could tell, had no prior relationships of any significance, spent 4 months living with his best friend, Lance, who apparently got overly cuddly with everyone while drunk, and simultaneously had the proclivity to drink too often. It's not surprising that this was the outcome of a touch-starved virgin gamer living in the same house as a touchy-feely.
Just think about it. Like, most of the time these people get with people that, especially that are like kind of a little bit more on the straight and narrow, they just like constantly go up to them and touch them and stuff. And it's like, you know, imagine this, right? Like, it's probably all mostly non-consensual. Like they just kind of worm their way in. It's pretty disgusting to think about.
Seemingly manic trans person. However, a while after Lance had mostly gone back to normal, things started to intensify again. I started noticing changes in Lance's political views as the presidential election got closer. He amped up the complaints of old people staring at him, which probably was because he dressed like a stoner and not because he was female presenting, because all he did in that department was grow out his hair and wear mascara every once in a while. He also hated that the construction workers would misgender him, which I thought was weird since he said he was fine with any pronoun. Tyler wouldn't really get political until after the election. He'd sometimes just casually bring up the latest thing Trump had done and complain about what it'd do to the country, but in a very level-headed way. Before the election, Lance
so essentially he was talking about how much Trump was going to fix the country. That's the only level-headed way to do it, I guess you would say. No, it's funny, though. That's genuinely funny.
His friend group was the quirky LGBT group with a lot of mental illnesses. Not saying the two are linked, but that's how my friends knew them. They're the people who are in Lance's server for the most part. After the election, they became a lot more political, but not to an extremist level. By this point, I could safely say Lance and Tyler were some flavor of left-wing, while I'd become tired of politics and mostly apolitical, but never anything I thought was like dangerous. At some point, they told me about their relationship and were pretty open about it after that. that. It became very uncomfortable for me because while I don't think of myself as homophobic, seeing two dudes constantly make out was a bit much. Also, since Lance's room was always super messy, they would bang in Tyler's room, and I didn't like hearing it.
Yeah, that's really uncomfortable. That's absolutely disgusting. Oh my god, poor dude. I'm sorry you had to live through that. That sucks.
I cannot imagine how much it sucked to be in this guy's shoes.
I did not think Turkey Tom was going to say that. That's wild.
While this is a bit out of character for Tyler, who's been consistently described as reserved, it does match Lance's behavior of being overly transparent and letting other people, even people who randomly visited him, see into his intimate life to a point where it's concerning. It's also fitting that Lance's pre-existent paranoid behaviors were now manifesting in correlation to his gender, as despite not being particularly female presenting or being concerned with being seen and treated as a woman, he still took issue with anyone who perceived him as a man. People who are paranoid often assume others look upon them negatively, no matter how asinine.
His name was Sir Lancelot? Okay. Well, he did
The reason may be. Clearly, Lance's mental state was deteriorating, and whether intentionally or not, he was dragging Tyler along with him. And this became increasingly transparent over time. Their mutual acquaintance continues. Lance started becoming more and more erratic again until, at the end of December, he just had another nuclear meltdown after having another argument. Also, a couple months before, we noticed Lance had been growing breasts and said that he'd been taking black market HRT, which I do not know what that entailed, but I think it was making him very erratic.
Why are these people stupid? Why do these people just decide to put things in their system without knowing what it does? That's just unbelievable to me. For all this kid knows, he could have just OD'd right there on the floor. But instead, he's getting black market HRT. That's absolutely crazy.
So he basically shut down for like 2 weeks, not talking, just hitting his vapes in the living room in the dark. So here we have the mention of possibly one of the most concerning details about what kind of substances
Everything I find out about these two just makes me really not like. I would hate them in real life if they ever did anything, wrong. The fact that they're vape douches, stupid enough to just buy random crap and put it in their bodies without knowing what it is at all, any type of drugs. And just absolutely doing all the worst inconsiderate crap, yelling and screaming at people because they touched like a piece of trash that was in the floor, but they apparently valued it. Just for touching it. That's so insane. They sound like the worst type of people to be around.
Lance was on at this point in time. Taking synthetic hormones of any kind, whether the kind and quantity your body already produces or not, is extremely dangerous and can cause pretty much every kind of health issue imaginable, including mental. Even if you're a guy and you take just a little bit of testosterone, you can suffer all kinds of side effects. So obviously,
exactly what I was mentioning earlier.
In Lance's case, the risks are much greater by default, and it's made exponentially more dangerous given the circumstances. This is someone who has proven himself to be delusional, chronically sleep-deprived, and prone to overdoing substances. There is simply no chance he was mentally well enough to manage and administer dosages of any kind, let alone procure or produce untainted bathtub HRT. While studies on this stuff are hard to come by, there have been a few documented cases of people in similar situations to Lance. For example, there's one case of a person in their early 20s with a history of depression and psychosis who self-induced drug intoxication via HRT, which led to a worsening of their psychosis and all of their other psychiatric disorders. Uncoincidentally, this is when Lance becomes more unhinged than ever before.
For the left, constantly claiming that they are for the science, they never pay attention about the side effects for HRT or anything like that, and they pretend like, you can just reverse it all. Isn't that wild? Like, I don't understand what the point in lying like that at all is, because it just turns out for the worst.
His peer continues to allege. I thought he kind of started going back to normal after that because he started talking again, but I was so wrong. I had another magic night at the end of January, so even though Lance wasn't completely fine, I just kind of did it to test the waters. I should have guessed because the nest was starting to form again. He was watching Doctor Who in the living room, and so I thought if he was just doing that, he'd be fine. But people started to show up and talk before we started, and he just started yelling at us from the other room to shut up, which we thought was a joke since this was standard Magic Night procedure. He yelled again, and then we got quiet until enough people showed up to start a game. During the game, one of my more autistic friends started to bring up transgenders in sports. He literally couldn't get any further than those 2 words before Lance yelled at him to shut up from the other room. And to everyone's amazement, he tried to bring it up like 3 more times in rapid succession, being shouted down literally not even a second after he started his sentence every time.
Of course. That's very typical. Very typical standard, extreme trans behavior. Anytime they think they know what you're going to say. They think they know exactly where you're going to go with it. They won't even let you bring out 2 words before they're screaming and yelling at you. And you could be on their side for all they know. But you're not trans, so therefore you don't get to speak about it. I mean, it's just psychotic, right? But that's the way it goes, Anyway, guys, 31 people in here. It's super cool, guys. Thank you all for being here. Like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Let's get going.
It became a very awkward game. It's pretty funny to think back on now. Bro could not take a hint. After that, more people showed up, and we started having 2 games going, and the mood mostly stabilized, and Lance just came in with sort of a loopy grin and a bottle of something. I'll summarize this part briefly since this person goes into a bit of detail about what happened, but Lance proceeded to throw this guy's extra rare magic cards around to try and get his attention, and afterwards, he went upstairs, at which point everyone started hearing loud thumping. Apparently, Lance had gone into a temper tantrum so intense that he was literally thrashing around on the floor, which...
You're kidding me. This dude is literally throwing a fit like a 3-year-old on his floor upstairs. That's so embarrassing. This is the thing. These people need to actually be put in a padded cell. That's the only way they don't hurt themselves. They're literally thrashing on the floor. A padded cell is the only thing you can do to keep these people, in check in general. Genuinely, these people need to be put in a padded cell for their own safety. They cannot handle it.
Which hopefully was just a tantrum and not some kind of seizure,
Lance right
because
now.
At this point, Lance is really
Technically
a
all
prime
of them,
candidate for that to happen. Their peer
sorry, guys.
continues. After that, Lance went mental. I'd get to Lance and Tyler's place, and he'd be super wide-eyed with either a loopy grin or a rictus grin like the Joker, depending on his mood. The nest came back full force, and Lance started living downstairs full-time again. This is a picture of a kind of cleaned-up version. Imagine this type of mess, but denser and all over the living room.
Yeah, I mean, you could see his fidget spinner. What is there anything?
And kitchen
Does
counters.
it zoom in more? It doesn't. It's gonna go away very quickly. Yeah. So I don't know what this is up here. Maybe some sort of weird glue gun. I'm just trying to see a stack of sticky notes that are opened up weird. Just a bunch of cables. I guess some electrical stuff here. Glasses. I don't see anything out of the ordinary per se, like anything too weird. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys see anything? Maybe just let me know.
He started playing on his DS and drawing stuff in, I think, Pitcho chat, and scribbling it all out while giggling with the wide-eyed Joker smile. He'd either be doing this, or his experiments, or talking with ChatGPT day in and day out. He hardly ever slept. The experiments got scarier too, like jugs of water with a whisk full of aluminum foil that had 2 copper wires coming out of them. The water was clear one day, and
maybe I should just start doing ChatGPT streams on here or something, see what it gets me to do and say. You know what I mean? I wonder how I'd get myself in the headspace to ask the right questions. But I wonder if ChatGPT actually does kind of influence people to do some crazy stuff, like crazy people. Wouldn't that be something?
And at some point, I think the wires got plugged into the outlet because the water turned brown and the aluminum foil was pretty burnt. He also started leaving little papers around the house that he had scribbled on while doing that giggling thing. It's at this point that our leaker here sent an extensive set of pictures he'd taken of the state of the apartment and the notes Lance left around. First is an image of their magic table, completely vandalized with garbage that mostly resembles electrical stuff, which is odd because Tyler was the one in an electrical apprenticeship program, not Lance.
Wait, what the heck is this? Look at this. This is a piece of cardboard with a 9-volt battery stuck to it. What's that about? And it's facing the wrong way. That's weird. Did y'all notice that? See if I can... I don't want to back it up too much, but yeah, it's just... Okay, so that's strange. That's schizo for sure. That's the only schizo thing. There's a hot glue gun over there. So this must be hot glue all over this.
We can
Yeah,
see
that's
what
weird.
looks to be some kind of aquarium or big glass container with rocks in it, which may be the mold experiments mentioned in the messages. Underneath it is what
So
looks
gross.
to be a package
Okay,
for
that's
a
a power
rock
drill.
tumbler, which makes sense given that Tyler occasionally did masonry with his dad. But it's when we move to what's actually on the table that things get increasingly bizarre. And we have
Okay,
isolated
let's see.
pictures of all of the particularly interesting items. I'm gonna say right now that I'm actually a specialist in literally nothing, so
By the way, everyone should subscribe to Turkey Tom. I don't know what his problems with the quartering are. Like I said, I got into one argument with Turkey Tom about Bill Burr, and Turkey Tom really just didn't defend the position very well, and it kind of died off quickly. So I'm wondering if that's why he blocked the quartering as well, is because he saw his criticisms of Bill Burr. Is odd.
this is just going to be me trying to interpret these to the best of my abilities, and the screenshots I'll be looking at will be made available in the description for those of you who want to take a look for yourself and see if you can extract some sense out of the madness of Lance's post-it notes. The first one we'll go over is this one, which contains a set of spiral-like scribbles that may be disconnected attempts at making the Glock logo, given the squared spiral G and the word lock
maybe.
near it. Right above this, there's also what looks to be the small phrase E
Why does it look like it says get the lock? Right? Looks like a G, E, T. And then this. I know this says lock, but. Talk? Maybe? Talk? Maybe that's a T? Maybe.
equals T, and elsewhere on the note, I can also make out the words regent and temp.
Regent or regret? I don't know. Regent.
Although I have no idea if this is alluding to anything in particular. On the right side of the image, another post-it has the sentence, all of separate
10th of September. 10 of September, right? Oh, it says separator. Never mind. Thought that said September. I don't know.
underneath what looks to be the portmanteau no linguals. This is very rough to make out, obviously, but bilingual means that someone knows 2 languages. Monolingual means that someone knows 1. Therefore, no lingual would mean someone who knows no languages, or someone who is nonverbal. The next set of scribbles is
That's
a bit more
strange.
cohesive.
What if it's like, the whatever's, his schizophrenia just take it over and just, writing whatever it can be, I don't know. This could be just him normally drawing and making weird cryptic stuff. Or it could just be him going into a psychosis and drawing stuff.
Although I'm using that word pretty loosely here at this point. Here we can
Stop
see
looking for
stop
others.
looking for others at the top and Terraria Buggin Tear Ableist in the middle, which I think may be some wordplay with terrible and ableist. At the bottom of this page, an illustrated version of the word sine wave is written above lose it at the tude, next to a picture of some bizarre looking animal. This at the tude bit to me
This is strange. That looks like very clearly a beak. So it's like some sort of bird, and this is clearly like power lines, I would think, right? So he drew like a bird on the power
is very
lines?
reminiscent
Why
of
is it
how
so huge?
schizophrenic people will break words down and obsess with syllables, word morphology, and
Really?
portmanteaus.
That's a normal thing
There's
that
another
schizophrenics
example
do?
of this
I had no
in one
idea.
of the post-it notes.
Why does this look like a 5G tower here or something like that? And it says stop, do anything, I'm a loon.
Where he writes,
I'm a loon?
I'm a
Or
lone, obviously doing what I'm talking about here. On another page, we have Monsumus Sumptuous right at the top, followed by SFTU Piteous, which I
Shut the F. Oh, wait.
assume is like, shut the flip up, idiots, maybe. Further down the page, there's a rough sketch of
Interesting, yes, yeah.
America with the number 21.0 inside of it. And nearby, phrases like go to the store and small box, go listen to act. A lot of this stuff reads like Lance is just writing his mundane thoughts or whatever he's seeing on his phone in the most cryptic and insane way possible. But some of it does stand out to me as potentially meaningful or at least consistent. On a post-it note, he writes down TY and miss my BF, obviously in reference to Tyler. On another one, we have stop crying, stop stopping. And in one of the pages, we have the phrase full stop, very jagged at the bottom. Although this may be bull or something
Yeah, that's what I thought. Bull, S-H-I-T is what I was thinking.
else. On this page, there's something pretty interesting, as the words federated and fed-related are right next to what looks to be the word CIA. And further down, a drawing of 4 symbols that ever so slightly resemble what you'd see on a set of Zener cards. If you're not familiar with what these are, Zener or
I'm not
Zener
sure.
cards were created in the early 20th century to test if people had extrasensory perception, and much later on, they were frequently reported as being used in gifted and talented education programs. There are a lot of
Now, I was in Pep and GT. I don't ever recall seeing anything like this, so...
conspiracy theories surrounding this topic, some of them being more credible than others, but they typically have to do with the CIA project MKUltra, and how Gate may be some kind of offshoot of it. I won't get into the merits of these
This does sound like this dude was, like, brainwashed by something, to a degree, you know? But I could also understand him watching, like, being schizophrenic and watching a lot of crazy documentaries, too, that show this stuff, and then him, you know, think that he was a part of it.
theories, not only
Who
because Wendigoon should be the one to do that, but also because it doesn't
disproving a
really
specific
matter as
theory?
much as the reason why people are drawn
What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean there, zombie.
to this topic online in the first place.
Oh, what's Candace Owens wrong about? Well, she hasn't literally provided any evidence whatsoever for anything that she's done, and this also proves, like, all the motive right here, specifically, you know, behind why Tyler Robinson did what he did. Defund Israel? Okay. Yeah, I don't care. Defund Palestine as well.
You see, if you check on Reddit, the majority of people who engage in discussions about the nature of GATE programs
sending
are
money
people
to
who
any
were
of
in
them.
GATE themselves, obviously, meaning they were, at some point, considered to be gifted. You may have already heard about this, but there's a sizable phenomenon of gifted kid burnout, where people who used to be overachievers in their childhood, usually in the academic sense, could no longer keep up as they got older, and so their life spiraled out of control. Part of this phenomenon
Yeah,
is
that's
that when they can't
that's a
get over
bummer.
their attachment to how they were treated when they were seen as special, they come up with all sorts of extraneous reasons to justify their decline and
Yeah, see that I've seen like a couple of people. They didn't go down like a bad road or anything like that, but I saw a couple of people crash out pretty hard whenever they realized that, you know, when they were like some of their schools like top people, you know what I mean? So some of the top most gifted kids in the school, that whenever they got put up against a lot of other gifted kids, they all of a sudden they were a little less special. And some of them didn't really take it very well. You know what I mean? Some of them kind of had a pretty bad crash out, you know? Free Palestine? Palestine's free, dude. What are you talking about? Like, they're totally fine. You know what I mean? I guess free them from Hamas, I agree. Those public executions probably ought to stop. You know? Very unfortunate. But, you know, maybe they should probably deal with Hamas themselves if they're not going to let Israel do it. I think the Palestinians probably should get rid of Hamas. Kind of ridiculous, but whatever. They support them throwing gay people off roofs and whatnot. Nobody seems to care about that. Also, you know, who cares about, like, Palestine and Israel whenever there's, like, 5 other genocides in the world that are significantly bigger than Israel and Palestine, and yet nobody cares about that. Nobody wants to talk about Balochistan. Nobody wants to talk about any of those, you know, like the Uyghur Muslim concentration camps or anything like that. So, you know, I find the Palestine argument to be just complete and total bullshit.
convince themselves that they're still gifted in some way. Given that Lance
People
is
don't
quite
care.
literally documented on video as a gifted kid, being an adept piano player from a young age, and his life definitely went downhill as he got older, it would make sense for Lance, in one of his weed, paranoia, alcohol, and hallucinogen real maxing binges, to stumble upon this stuff while doom scrolling and decide to scribble about it. This notion that Lance is still attached to the idea he's special or somehow intellectually gifted is later
Here, one
corroborated.
second. I'll be right back, guys. Just, oh, I need to stop the video. See, there we go. 1 second. I'll be right back. It won't even take 2 seconds. Just got to take a quick leak. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, I'm back. Ooh, alrighty. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay. Let's see here. Trevor, okay, I guess they're not sticking around. I figured he'd comment back or something. Oh. Unmute.
Later corroborated by this anonymous peer. But even just examining his projects, Lance clearly thinks he's doing something here. Among the incoherent scribbles, there's hot glue and electrical wiring and batteries, which leads me to suspect he actually believed he was putting something together. And maybe some of these scribbles are, at least in his delusional mind, blueprints or rough sketches. At least some of his drawings had symbols that resembled electrical circuit diagrams, some even written on books about electrical stuff like impedance phenomena, while others had mathematical symbols as if he was writing down equations. Although, of course, none of it actually makes any sense to me or probably you. I will say some of this stuff legitimately gets pretty scary. To think that this guy melted his own brain to the point where he was drawing this is horrifying. Besides the consistent appearance of circuit diagram-like straight lines leading to symbols and drawings and references to spirals and spiraling, there is one image in particular that really—
It's clear that this dude was just absolutely off his rocker. Absolutely off his rocker completely. I mean, this is some creepy stuff. Going into, like, the mind of this person, this is somebody that genuinely needs to be, like, and even to this day, like, this person's still, like, well, I wouldn't say free. But the FBI definitely, like, needs to go ahead and be like, okay, you need to be put into a little loony bin here. This is wild, you know? But anyway, guys, if you're new here, please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And liking brings in a bunch of new people as well, so it really just helps out.
It got my attention. On what looks to be two pieces of cardboard, Lance wrote, hormonal flux dash is way fluctuative, followed by definitely orchid denialism. If you don't know, orchid is actually the medical term for balls. So with the context here being him mentioning hormones and of course identifying as trans in the few months prior to Tyler's attack, orchid denialism could be a reference to him outright not acknowledging or recognizing his balls. I can't make any other conclusion besides that one, but as I said earlier, all of the images will be available for you to peruse.
You don't need to recognize them. When they're attached to you, you know that those are definitely the ones. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of get dragged along everywhere else, but whatever, you know. It really goes to show the mindset in general of what trans people, you know, what their state of mind's in when they're doing stuff like this, and they don't recognize their own parts. It's like, oh yeah, we're supposed to just let these people, like, kind of just roam free for the most part. Like, you know, if they're really truly, like, obviously you can't do anything to anybody who's not acting crazy. But I think there were pretty good signs here. I think these were good signs that should have been reported.
And although a lot of it is just random babble, I am hoping that by someone else other than I taking a look at this, there can be some information extracted from these images. The anonymous peer continues. These scribbles look bad, but it's even worse when you saw his face when he was doodling it, combined with the giggling and how vigorously he would scribble. It was very scary. And the way he spoke was weird. It was
okay, it looks like he's also, like, bleeping out, like, cuss words in the message.
A bunch of words, but none of them made sense together, or sometimes it'd be in rhyme, or just sometimes he'd only smile and point at things. If I was religious, I would have called an exorcist. The smile was so scary, and he showed me what conversations he was having with ChatGPT. He told me he solved some equation backwards and showed me the ChatGPT text as proof. The chats were just paragraphs of random Greek, and I think Roman symbols, with numbers and random letters going on and on. He'd somehow gotten it to respond in kind as well. He told me to start scrolling faster, and so I did. And he kept telling me faster until he was basically screaming at me to scroll faster, and the ChatGPT chats just went on like forever. I was sat there scrolling at max speed for at least like a minute or two, and by the bottom, it was still in the weird symbols. He started yelling at me that Nikola Tesla was abused by the people in his time, and that no one we knew was smart enough to solve that equation, including me, because he is way smarter than me. This was all in weird, broken up sentences too. Definitely added to the creepy factor.
This is definitely a schizophrenic that keeps putting his, more than likely putting his, like, own self inside of documentaries that he's probably watching or videos and stuff like that. That's probably what's genuinely going on. I've seen behavior like this before, where literally you'll show someone that's, got schizophrenia, you'll show them something, and then they kind of merge their part of their life into it. You know what I mean? Like, they can't, it's so strange. It's like they're part of everything. You know what I mean? They can't quite detach. How would I put it? They can't separate themselves from what's happened. So they don't know. Like, I don't want to say it's fiction, but they associate themselves with what they've seen as actually being a part of their life. It's bizarre to describe. You know what I mean? Like, they were really there. Like, they were part of the process. You know what I mean? It's scary stuff to watch. It's genuinely scary stuff to watch.
Tyler told me that Lance had basically been up for like 3 days straight talking to ChatGPT at that time. It's interesting that he mentions he'd get an exorcist if he was religious, because when I was going over Lance's Reddit posts, he talks about how once his family threw him out of the house, saying he was possessed by a demon. If this is what they were having to deal with, that becomes a lot more understandable.
Yeah, I would say so. It makes a lot more sense now than the very beginning of what all was, taking place there. It's not just his parents were crappy religion. So I may have given his parents a bad rap there at the beginning. This, with context, obviously. With context, it's pretty freaking obvious that they weren't crappy parents. They were literally like, I don't know how to deal with this. You know what I mean? And just, well, I don't know. I still say that's kind of crappy. They should have got him help. They should have got him, like, some sort of help in general. Like, now, I don't know if this is Lance's parents or if this was this Lance's parents or was this,
if he was religious, because when I was
guy?
going over Lance's Reddit posts, he talks about how once his family threw him out of the house, saying he was possessed by a demon. If this is what they were having to deal with, that becomes a lot more understandable. As far as the ChatGPT conversations in Latin and Greek, another common fixation of people
was possessed. You don't just kick him out. You know what I mean? You get help. If the preacher don't help, you get help medically. You know what I mean? One way or the other, you got to do something. It's your child. You know what I mean? I've got 2 little girls. I'm not going to just let them go through life like that. If there's something mentally wrong with them, if something's going on, I'm going to get them the help they need one way or the other. You know what I mean? I'm not just going to kick them out and be like, okay, you're the world's problem now. It's kind of a dick move to just unleash that on the world. Just look at what it led to. You know, I hope these parents feel responsible for what's happened. I genuinely hope they feel responsible for allowing their kid to go out there and influence another person to do the crazy stuff that he did. You know what I mean? They're responsible for that to a degree. They did nothing to help.
Schizophrenic is hermeneutics, the interpretation and analysis of biblical texts, often in their original language or as close to it as possible. There are huge online communities for esoteric and occult interpretations of the Bible revolving around sacred geometry or gematria, which, given Lance's repeated use of broken maths in his notes and scribbles, may have contributed to his delusions here. Again, this doesn't mean that this was actually happening, but it's a decent guess as to why those 2 specific languages and equations keep popping up in Lance's activities, despite him showing no interest in foreign or dead languages elsewhere. The messages continue. He'd sometimes just be sobbing in Tyler's arms, and Tyler would be rocking him back and forth. We all thought Tyler was a trooper for putting up with Lance in that state. So the next image
yeah, well, he was, I guess you could call him a pooper trooper, huh?
Attached in these messages is one that I don't think I can show you guys on YouTube, but you will be able to check it for yourself in the description. But it's a used condom on the sink of the bathroom in the common area. We know this photo was taken in their apartment because the counter, sink, toilet, and other details matched this photo of their sink taken from a Zillow listing. The same applies to another photo of the table in their living.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale were in it. Kept killing his clones. Wait, what movie is that? Interesting.
Room, which once again matches the Zillow listing, as we can see that the window with the white blinds is in the same location. As nasty as this is to even take into consideration, it is worth noting that it is completely empty, which leads me to think that even if Tyler was still engaging with Lance in this way, it was more out of pity or a sense of duty than anything else.
Ew, don't say duty with what he's doing, dude. Come on. That's absolutely crazy. Good God. Come on. Come on, we know where he was putting that thing, and Duty would come out with
says, crazily enough, while Lance was like that, Tyler was still hitting it. When I told Lance I would be leaving the general area, it was crazy. He snapped back to reality for a second and just thanked me for all the good times we had hanging out.
Well, see, we don't know if he was in Gifted and Talented or not, but he's showing symbols like that were constantly, that are like, not constantly, but that were consistently from Gifted and Talented classes.
Throughout the years. After that, I think Lance had been brought...
I never got shown those symbols in my Gifted and Talented classes. I was there in 3rd grade and 4th grade. I had a really mean teacher 4th grade that made me miss all my Gifted and Talented classes, and I got kicked out. She was not nice. She didn't like me. It was because I was a hyper kid. But I didn't do anything bad. I was just hyper. You know, but whatever.
Back just a little bit, and he even let Tyler take him out of the house to start seeing a psychologist. It almost made me feel bad because, not gonna lie, I was starting to become really apathetic and not really care about what happened. Like, it was just so much energy to try and deal with Lance. Tyler was a real trooper for dealing with him. Lance even calmed down enough for us to hold like 3 more magic nights. We all thought Lance would be okay because he had Tyler, who was basically his handler at this point, to take care of him. Eventually, my friend who lived across the street from their apartment let me know that Lance had gotten into an argument with his grandpa, who owned the apartment, and his grandpa had taken his car away. This I'm not sure about, but I suspect it put him into another one of these spirals. I imagine Lance was just alone with Tyler in the apartment, just driving Tyler crazy. I'd be hard-pressed to stay sane while living alone with Lance while he's like that. I joined a couple Discord calls with Tyler and Lance would say one thing and then be silent, and Tyler would just talk normally. Tyler even joined a call 2 weeks before the assassination and acted completely normal. All of this is really interesting to me because while we did have an inkling that neither Tyler nor Lance were in their right mind by the time the attack took place, it seems like the situation was that Tyler was being subjected to an incessant barrage of genuinely psychotic ramblings from a paranoid and deranged Lance, who had recently become significantly more political, as is customary for people with these.
Man, why is it when this guy, when he's speaking, like, anytime I see him on video, he just looks like he's got the absolute coldest, deadest eyes. Like, not even just eyes, just the stare incompletely. It's the fact that, like, the upper cheekbones don't hardly move, it seems.
Of delusions, they start fixating on prominent people, imagining they have some specific relationship to that person, usually that they're being stalked or otherwise directly antagonized by them. This is probably when the name of Charlie Kirk entered the mix, and while it was probably just one among many delusions Lance would probably forget about by the time his episode ended, it seems it seeped into Tyler's mind as the cause of Lance's problems. Obviously, there's the political context of it, with Lance being trans and Charlie being conservative and criticizing the trans community. But judging from the leaked messages between Lance and Tyler, it does seem Lance himself is taken aback and shocked that Tyler did what he did. If I were to guess, Tyler took some of the things Lance must have said while in a state of delusion to heart, while Lance had already forgotten about them a while later.
I wonder if he got him to do some pretty crazy drugs in general. Got Tyler to, like, do, like, DMT and stuff like that, and then managed to convince him. You know, I kind of wonder about that. That'd be freaky to learn, you know? That'd be very, very unfortunate. It just kind of goes to show that, you know, as a parent, you need to really keep a close eye on your kids, even whenever they're gone, you know? They still need guidance in their 20s.
Their peer concludes his messages by saying, after talking to another friend apparently right after he did the shooting, he joined a bunch of Discord calls asking if anyone had seen the news while breathing heavily. And literally the next day, he was in call just chatting with people while playing his puzzle games. And also for the record, Tyler 100% calls Lance my love when they are talking alone.
Then, you know, there you go. Now, of course, I would like a little bit more proof. I mean, well, you know, I think we could kind of take this guy's word for it. He has pictures. He's got a lot of stuff, you know, in general. Assuming that this guy isn't a Fed, given Turkey Tom all this information, then I'd say this guy's credible on saying, yeah, he does this all the time. This is pretty normal.
Hopefully this sheds some light on what it was like behind the scenes. With all of this context provided, I think it's beyond the shadow of a doubt that the last messages exchanged between Tyler and Lance are real. It also elucidates the nature of their relationship, as Lance was someone Tyler was mostly taking care of rather than having a normal relationship dynamic with. From the looks of it, it seems like Lance is someone who, at least at one point, was very self-aware and proactive as a person, being confident enough to argue with others over his worldview, while Tyler has always been quiet and stayed in the background of any setting he found himself in, including including his relationship with Lance. Unfortunately, it turns out that he was simply less expressive of his thoughts. Now, the leaker also sent me their Discord logs, and this dynamic of Lance being the expressive one while
Now, if it's in the Discord logs, then I guess, you know, we don't have to take his word for it. He's proven it, you know what I mean? You're out of here? We'll see, we'll see you later, Race there. Delete that comment, Ed. The rest of the... You silly man.
Tyler played a subservient role is also reflected there, as Lance messaged the chats way more frequently and even had his own server. The logs I got are of 3 different servers that Tyler and Lance were parts of. Lance under the name Lanceolotl and Fluxolotl, and Tyler is the name Zealous_Monkey and Bedbug Inspector. These messages date all the way back to
Why do these people just sound gross? Always. Isn't that weird?
2020, and although most of it is pretty irrelevant stuff and boring, it is kind of spooky to see that at some point these guys were like completely normal, just sending memes to each other on Discord. Interestingly enough, Tyler frequently spoke of going fishing or making fishing trips that lasted for days with no cell service, where he would speak to no one. While this isn't really negative, it does differentiate Tyler from his peers. There's one kind of introvert who stays indoors and plays on the computer, and then there's go fishing in the middle of nowhere with no cell service for days kind of introvert. Still, at least early on, it's clear that the people in this server have no issue with offensive humor and don't necessarily swing politically in any given direction, although there are a few odd things that I have to note, even if they are just jokes. In mid-2020, someone else in the server tags Lance and says, "Nobody said gross when you said you wanted to bang your 2-year-old cousin, Lance." The context of this is that the same guy who sent this message said he wanted to bang snake girls.
Oh wow. So who's surprised at all that the person transitioning was into people letter 2? Anybody surprised? No, just me. Huh. Man, aren't I giving some benefit of the doubt today, huh?
And Lance responded by saying gross. But honestly, this doesn't explain that much. Another interesting tidbit from these chats is when the topic of religion came up, prompting Lance to say, "Isn't Brigham Young the one with all the quotes about how black people are cursed and can't hold the priesthood until they get uncursed by God?" For context, Brigham Young was an early leader of the LDS Church. In response, the person with whom he was talking said that most religions start screwed up, implying that they would get better over time.
I mean, that's actually just really funny. That's really, really funny.
To which Lance replied, "And most still
obviously
are,"
horrible,
basically
but that's
shutting
funny.
it down. Long before the gender issue was something Lance was invested in, his earliest strong opinion is a clear anti-religious sentiment. Still, at no point here is there any sign that Lance's opinion is unquestioningly shared by the entire server, as most people here express pretty reasonable and mixed opinions. Around the same time that those messages about Brigham Young were sent, they were discussing politics and video games, but no one was really arguing as much as they were just expressing their views in a friendly manner. Eventually, Lance says auth-right lib-left unity, referring to the squares of the political compass of authoritarian right and liberal left. So clearly politics weren't taken too seriously by this friend group. A little while later, still in 2020, Tyler can be seen commenting on the presidential debate, saying that it was hilarious, but making no further comment. In September 2020, Lance says, "Femboy Friday greater than Tomboy Tuesday, White Girl Wednesday isn't where it's at," followed by White King Wednesday. These seem to purely be jokes, as he showed no signs of identifying as a femboy at this point in time. As a matter of fact, when someone else sends a few messages saying, "Femboy hypnosis is finally working. My nipples are so puffy. Jesus Christ." Lance responds with 2...
Why? I'm glad that he read that out loud. That's absolutely crazy. Oh man, I need that as a ringtone.
Long strings of question marks. Although this may 100% be irony on Lance's part, in November 2020, he sent "Vote Jeb" to this chat, referencing Jeb Bush's failed and often memed on 2016 presidential campaign. Interestingly enough, at least back in 2020, Tyler seems to be the one who was more politicized from the Discord messages. At one point, he went as far as to suggest that freedom of speech should be amended so that vaccine and COVID skepticism was not protected by it and could get you punishment by the government.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that these people are anti-free speech. What a crazy... Yeah, it's just so shocking, isn't it? Again, another thing. They're into 2-year-olds. They're into silencing people. Who would have guessed?
So, I've repeatedly
Anyone else
seen
shocked?
people claim that Tyler
Anyone?
was a furry, but in these chats, he seems to
crazy.
deny it. As when another user says he is one, he replies by saying, I told someone I wasn't gonna watch their anime one time and get called a goddamn furry. This country is going downhill. Earlier on, even Lance was open to cracking some more edgy jokes.
he is a
like
furry?
me proving that being black is a myth.
Wow. I actually just thought that the uwu stuff there that he was posting was like, or that he wrote on the side of his cartridges and stuff. I genuinely thought that he was not a furry or anything. He just, like, you know, was doing internet lingo. That's crazy, as it turns out. So he is a furry. That's weird. All you furries in chat here, watch yourself. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Calling other people libtards. And I'm under the impression that he engaged with lolcow and internet drama culture to some extent. The reason why is because there's a good few
Ethan really
messages
needs
of
to
him
hit a
talking
gym.
to someone
Just
else
being
about
skinny
Terry
like that
Davis,
is-
where
it
he
looks
calls
like he's just
Terry
doing
a
no
weird nerd, but
He should,
acknowledges that he
like,
has a
build
sad
himself.
story, while expressing no hang-ups about someone else in the server, echoing Terry's use of the N-word to describe CIA agents. There's also a good few messages in which Lance can be seen discussing Chris Chan and his current girlfriend, Flutter, where Lance says Christorians must be praising the sun, with one odd message comparing someone's looks to janky, which could be in reference to someone else.
Real talk, what would y'all do if you found out Chris Chan was the Antichrist? Like, it's one of those things to where it's like you could predict that, but then at the end of the day, it's like, oh shit, really? This? Like, he's the one? Like, you know, it's like such an obvious, like, crazy position to be in. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, this is the main bad guy, but it turned out to be Chris Chan. Like, you'd be like, this is the final boss, really? It kind of, what a disappointment.
In the server, but most likely is in reference to Isabella Janke, one of Chris
I think it'd be
Chan's
a funny
most
way to go
infamous
out to end it,
tormentors
you know,
and
be like, wow.
A-logs. As of
So
2022,
that's it.
Lance sent a few messages complaining about H3H3, saying this: can't stand the podcast or new content. His old videos are still good. I don't understand how he was able to go from genuinely goofy and enjoyable content to purely bad political takes and one of the most boring podcasts I've listened to. Half the time, he won't even let guests talk. He just interrupts them to make a bad joke and then doesn't let them finish. Another interesting token of Lance talking about the kind of content he interacted with online is his positive review of Wendigoon's content, which seems to come from Isaiah's videos on FNAF lore based on other messages sent by Lance to the server. To put it simply, up until some point in 2024, like I already suspected in my first video, Lance was mostly normal and didn't take much of anything very seriously. Even when his doom scroll nest phase began, he was still capable of making light of what he was up to, saying the following: I have begun only sleeping on the couch, cooler downstairs, and less room to move, or I fall off/get eaten. Tyler, on the other hand, seldom engaged in the same degree of joking as Lance did. The most I could find on him suggesting an interest in edgier online content is a GIF that he posted of Gypsy Crusader. When he did send text messages to the server's chat, it was usually
any
to
proof
give
that
people a
Trump's an
small
Israeli
window
plant,
into his
though?
private life.
Like, I
In
need
2020,
evidence, man.
there was some conversation between
you know,
him
we
and
gotta
other
have proof.
users talking about a YouTube channel he once had, which contained a tour of his bedroom. Unfortunately, as far as I know, and according to the messages Tyler sent here, this video and the entire channel have become lost media. In 2021, he said that his brother had accidentally discharged a firearm and shot a hole in the wall, with no further comments from Tyler. In 2023, it seems he became a bit more talkative, and he shared a few more times
After that,
about
I
his
would not
electrical
allow him to have a
apprenticeship
weapon.
program and what kinds of things he had to do in it. But any apparent character development for Tyler came to a screeching halt in late 2023 to 2024, when Tyler's messages became noticeably more politicized, some of them in reference to war in the Middle East, and some of them joking about the assassination attempt on Trump, saying, snowflake liberals can't shoot straight because they too busy being gay. While he was definitely still reading the room, so to speak, and not breaking into a rant, he clearly became more agitated about these things. Curiously, another member of the group chat was at a campus of all places when a shooting took place, and Lance responded with concern. All of a sudden, this agitation too gave way to something else, mostly silence, as Lance became increasingly present in servers and started
like a
one of his
girlfriend he
own,
had?
the femboy server, as he put it. Right around the time they started dating, Tyler
Oh, it's
became
just,
increasingly
if you go into my
inactive, even less
profile.
expressive than
I could show you guys real quick. I'll show you just real quick where my email is. So if you go to my channel here, you could click right over here. Click here for business inquiries. Just click that. That'll give you the email. I don't want to necessarily put it in a video and have people spamming me, but if you want to, I mean, people will do it anyway, but, you know, it's one of those situations. Is this his mom or his girlfriend at the time? It looks like it would probably be his mom.
Than he was initially.
Right.
Most of the information from this time period comes from Lance, who notified the group chat when he was going on a date with Tyler or watching TV shows with him. Speaking of TV shows, it's quite possible that the show they were watching was Beastars, the big furry anime show, because Lance discussed it in the server on a few occasions. Now, from late 2024 to early 2025, some of Lance's messages further corroborate the claims made by his and Tyler's anonymous peer. First off, he says that he's been chronically sleeping from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and that it's been wreaking havoc on his life. Then we have a ton of messages in his own server where he's talking to ChatGPT, although I'm sure this is only a fraction of the full extent of his communications with it. Lastly, we have Lance inviting everyone in his server to attend the anti-Trump No Kings protest. Over the previous half a decade worth of Discord messages, nothing from Lance comes even close to as clear of a political expression as this. As far as Tyler's presence in Lance's server, one of the last messages I was able to find of his was sent in August, where he simply says, "I am very ill." Within a month of this message, the tragic day of September 10th comes around, and the following day, Tyler sends his confession message to their old friend group server. It's interesting to me that he sent it in this server and not to Lance's new server, because I'm not sure why that is. It could just be that he was less familiar with the people there, but based on the kind of messages sent there, which we're gonna go over later, it could be that he wanted to avoid having anyone say something that resembled support for his actions. In the original group chat, one of the most prominent users replied, saying this: "Hey everyone, if you haven't seen the news yet, Tyler's post above is true. He was taken into custody earlier today for the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Regardless of the horrible actions that took place, we must take this moment to remember that God is a living and loving God who loves all his children. God calls sinners to be his saints, and I ask that you all take a quiet moment to pray for Tyler and his repentance. While Charlie Kirk's politics were not acceptable to some, I ask that we all say a prayer for him and his family during these confusing times. Love you all. God bless." Given the clearly religious nature of this post, it's safe to say that this particular Discord server was pretty varied in what kind of people were in it, especially since it mostly went quiet after the attack on Charlie Kirk. Over on Lance's server, Lance's final message there was from a day after the shooting, tagging a user that, as of the archiving of the messages, was no longer in the server. After Tyler's crime took place, many of the users complained about the harassment.
This is absolutely freaky, not gonna lie.
And unwanted attention from journalists and random people online digging up everybody Lance was connected to. That's a perfectly reasonable reaction, especially since, as far as I can tell, most of them just occasionally played video games with Lance, so their connection to Tyler was tenuous at best, even if they shared a Discord server. But there are a few—
Ew, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Christian has a girlfriend and looks... Ew. That's absolutely disgusting. Wow. Hey guys, thank y'all for jumping in here, though. I appreciate it, man. So many people are coming in here and checking this out. Thank y'all. Definitely subscribe and hit that like button. Thank y'all so much. I genuinely appreciate you guys being here.
Few things I want to go over that I didn't mention in my previous video, such as the fact that Tyler had a few blurbs of unusual online presence that I hadn't seen. For example, he had a DeviantArt under his older handle Crafton247 where he lists himself as they/them. It's not possible for this account to belong to someone else that created it after the assassination, as it was created 2 years ago. Then we have another account with the same exact handle, this time on Fur Affinity, but there doesn't seem to be any significant activity on it, just like on DeviantArt. And for those of you who don't know, Fur Affinity is like the furry website. It's the #1 furry website, okay? Now there's also two Reddit accounts under the names Crafton247 and Crafton248, neither of which contain any significant info. There's one post on each account, both of some pretty mundane content and from years ago, long before he was dating Lance and became more politicized. Now lastly, there are the Steam accounts of both Tyler and Lance. Tyler was clearly much more active on Steam, being level 50 on the platform. It is interesting that Tyler once said his name on there as Donald Trump, but besides that, nothing of note really. Part of why there's very little to say is that Tyler clearly set most of his settings to more private options, which again is pretty reflective of the kind of guy he was. Lance, on the other hand, had pretty much every facet of his profile completely public, where we can see that the last game he played was 2 days after Charlie's death, and his profile has been completely inactive active since then. Given the testimony from Tyler and Lance's friend,
Man, that's
even
crazy.
people who knew them in real life and frequented
Yeah, I
their
don't wanna
living
imagine
space
the
only ever
stories.
caught glimpses of the exact
No thanks.
nature of their relationship. Based on the last few months prior to Charlie Kirk's
Especially that one.
assassination, as far as I understand, they weren't really having anyone over, and their output of messages to their online friends also significantly
Those are some
decreased.
nice
I have
looking
done my
apartments,
best to
though.
contact Lance about all of these claims
Wow.
and get his side of what happened,
surprising
but
that they
he has
lived in
not
a,
responded to
wealthy
3
area.
different requests for comment. Unless one of them, Tyler or Lance, decides to speak up and elucidate the lead up to what happened, I think there's no chance we can piece together a full
Didn't
narrative
Candace
of the
Owens say
events that
something along the
contributed to
lines,
Tyler's
like him saying vehicle is weird, and then we have like a video of him saying vehicle, and so it turns out to not really be that weird. Like, that's kind of crazy, right?
mindset. Clearly, it was politically motivated, as both Tyler and Lance had become much more political, particularly around the topic of gender. Hopefully one day we'll get all the answers. Anyhow, I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.
I feel you ought to change it to gobble gobble at the end, you know? I really genuinely do. But what did you guys think of that? So, genuinely, I'd like to have a conversation about it. Like, what do you guys think about, like, you know, all this information coming out? Was it a Fed that sent it to Turkey Tom there? You know what I mean? Or is Candace Owens just right on the money with all this without, you know, her giving any kind of evidence whatsoever? Because God knows that would be too much of a pain in the butt to actually provide evidence, you know? We just got to go off of everyone's word for some silly reason. So let's see. You need to be harassing influencers of social media and asking why they are not telling the New Jersey people in their audience to go vote. You need to be persistent. What's going on here? Is New Jersey voting for their governors right now? Let's see. Let's see if Candace Owens has posted anything as of late too. Candace is not on the money. Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. I really genuinely agree that. Why I don't know why. I looked at this picture earlier. Why does it look like an AI picture to a degree? Is this how cameras are nowadays? Are they in such insane high like quality camera here that it just looks fake? Isn't it weird? Not that they would mean anything if it was or wasn't. I would just wonder why it would be fake. It just looks strange to me. It looks way too smooth on every aspect. You know what I mean? Is it just me? But, you know, even if it were fake, I'd be like, okay, but why? It's just odd. But anyway, this is the video I showed earlier where the guy talks about, like, stuff's getting deleted off of his phone and he's not showing any proof of that. And then, you know, there's, you know, the FBI's wanting him to delete his video of Charlie Kirk getting hit, you know, and it's like, but there's no proof that the FBI has done any of that whatsoever. And again, I don't know why he wouldn't just show the proof. So there's that. But Candace Owens retweeted it. Shane Cashman and Candace Owens, they had their differences, I guess. I have no idea about any of that. I didn't know they had beef. Wild, right? She says, I don't know how they don't expect these lies to backfire, but today we had our biggest day ever in terms of book club signups. Great. You know, I'd like to personally thank Laura Loomer, Steven Crowder, and Ian Malstrong for their tireless work of, you know, I'm so glad, Candace. Just flex your money, you know, on everyone, I guess. Whatever. Because, you know, why not profit off of your supposed really, really good friend, you know, ended up losing his life. Why not gain 700,000 subscribers in 3 weeks because you keep saying that you have proof that Charlie Kirk was ended by the government and Israel and provide absolutely no proof whatsoever. Awfully social autopsy-like, right? You know, just like she did back in the day when she was a leftist and doxed all those kids. Just like she did whenever she was, or not, you know, I mean, she lied about Steven Crowder in general. You know what I mean? That was kind of wild. Saying that he didn't negotiate, and then he did negotiate. Lying about Daily Wire's awful contracts. Saying, oh, well, Steven Crowder would have to be talking about Brett Cooper, and they would never screw Brett Cooper over at all. And then what happened to Brett Cooper? Got screwed over. Candace was wrong. Then Candace burns her bridges with Daily Wire completely over, you know, Israel of all things. Not because, you know, they had predatory contracts or anything like that, like Steven Crowder said. No, it was because she's super anti-Israel, I guess, and let that, like, I don't know, somehow interfere to the nth degree. Kind of wild too. But you know, that was probably Daily Wire censoring her too. I'm not denying that. Daily Wire is a pretty awful company. But she defended them. She defended them to the end and lied about Steven Crowder and then reaped what she had sown. So then she goes off on her own. Isn't doing like, crazy by herself or anything like that. She just kind of drops off a bit. And then explodes in the news finally whenever this happens to Charlie Kirk. It just seems like she's grifting hardcore. Candace does have beef with everyone. I didn't even know about Shane Cashman and her having beef. It just seems like literally she makes enemies everywhere she goes. She doesn't have to do that. She really doesn't. But she's so unbelievably hard-headed and just so gung-ho about every single thing. She goes 100% into it and will insult you if you don't 100% agree pretty much. I mean, it's just wild. You also had text disappear telling a friend about the nightmares you were having about your brother ending you, vice versa. I mean, that's creepy, right? Some creepy stuff. But the thing about it is this guy's right here. He's able to post videos. He's able to edit really well like this. He could have put the calls on his phone that he got from the FBI. You know what I mean? He could have recorded some of those phone calls he had with the FBI. If you're talking to the FBI ever, always record. Simply right here with this microphone, I just stick my phone in right here. And I record so many different phone calls that I have. Including phone calls with any customer service representatives, just in case. You know what I mean? You never know what they're going to do. You never know what messed up things you can catch them doing and catch them in a mistake, and then they hang up on you. And then it's like, hey, actually, this isn't my fault. And then you call someone else, and AT&T or something like that, or Verizon, or Cox Internet, anything like that, ends up, pulling it up, and they start, doing the proper lingo where they're like, oh, well, we didn't, we deny that this happened on our end here. And it's like, oh, yeah, well, here's your buddy. Here's what your other guy said. You can kind of catch them in it and get them to fix it pretty well. You just never know when you need it. Just record your phone calls. Not hard. I don't know why people don't do that more often. But anyway. She's a terrible person. What's this video he's streaming? What is the original name? What do you mean the original name? Oh, you mean Turkey Tom? Turkey Tom's video here? Yeah, you should go, you can go there, subscribe, watch the full video. It's 47 minutes long. We just got through it. Yeah, definitely go check it out. Lots of stuff in there. Lots of evidence and whatnot. Really, really just genuinely, proves that Candace Owens is just full of crap in general. It's more evidence than she's ever presented. You know what I mean? So, that's just a fact. And I know a lot of Candace fans will cope pretty hard with that. They're not gonna like that. But, today. I haven't gotten this whole time, May want to, that'll probably be a good idea, huh? Go ahead and put this in the description here. That'd be great. Here it is. Edit. Link in the description if you guys want to get there. Turkey Tom full video, and I'll save that right down the description there. Excellent. Man. I seriously appreciate you guys being here. This is an awesome time. It's great to have you guys here to talk to on a nice Saturday evening where it's pouring down rain like crazy. Yeah, absolutely. If you guys are new here, please definitely subscribe, like the video. Helps out a lot. Likes help out so much. They bring in like 3 people per like, It really helps out. I don't even know what my like rate is at. I can't even see it. Because, YouTube is just awesome. Absolutely amazing. Like, I cannot see anything over here. Oh, get started with product drops. Okay. That's not. I don't have any products. I wish I had products to sell. I'd make some funny merchandise. Yeah, I can't see any likes or dislikes in my stream. I used to be able to. Oh, here we go. 26 likes. 37 people in here, though. You guys know what to do. I appreciate y'all. Please definitely subscribe as well. Anyway, guys, so let's see. May want to put the original and yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I always want to credit people to videos, And it, like I said, went to put the dog outside, went and used the bathroom, pause the video. It's like, yeah, you're going to lose people. You're definitely going to lose not subscribers. You're definitely going to lose viewers right then and there. Tough. That's part of it. It sucks. You could just leave the video playing and walk away and have chair stream like Hassan Piker. Not going to do that. That's completely ridiculous. Like, you know, those people worked hard to make the video. I'm just commenting on it, you know, curating it. That's all I'm doing. Turkey Tom put a lot of work into this video, and even if he doesn't like Jeremy, and even if he, like, ends up being upset at me because I argued with him about Bill Burr, it doesn't matter. He still made this video. I'm not going to take his work away, you know. I don't have anything against him. I just, I'm disappointed to see him act that way to a degree, you know. Everyone's got their flaws somewhere, though, right? You know. Turkey Tom apparently has a soft spot for Bill Burr, and really doesn't like, you know, what the quartering's doing, I guess. I wish I knew. Let me see if I can, let's investigate a little bit. Oh, I wouldn't be following him on this account. That's right. What is his name on here? It's like, it's not Tom Dark, but maybe I can find Tom Dark on here or something like that. Tom Dark. So this is Tom Dark here. Oh, great. Lolita Express, born September 11, 2001. Ah, he took my birthday. Not my actual birthday. It's my birthday on my profile, too. He hasn't posted here in a while, but this is definitely a Turkey Tom, like, obvious, like, fake account. I was just hoping it would be... Well, great. Man, I wish I could find him. He, okay, I'll have to go to his channel. But unless he deleted his X. He didn't delete his X, did he? Oh, I'm on... what am I, dumb? Just go here. Tracklist, sources. Wait. Is that it? Oh, a non-bird. Here we go. That's what his name was. But did he delete anything? There we go. Oh, I am following him. Wow. I don't remember following him on this account. I just created this account. Not a fan of the quartering because of his constant coffee sponsors. Yeah, no, I mean, people get tired of that. I get it. You know, there's not a single YouTuber out there that doesn't constantly push garbage. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's just, it gets old, but I just skip a lot of it. I know if I want it or not. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things to where I get used to it. And I understand people have to do that to make a living. Because YouTube, look what YouTube's done. They don't pay out anything anymore like they used to. It just sucks. But, you know, I mean, the thing about it is he does have good coffee. Like, I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm a tea drinker. I like his teas. I really, really get... I get most of my teas from, like, I really like Billy Corgan's a lot from Madame Zuzu's. That stuff's amazing. And I go to Nobility. You know, I used to go to Tijuana all the time. I'm a big tea guy. So, you know. Exactly. Zero LE agency would do that with murder evidence. Wait, what are you talking about? Lucid. Oh, that. Yeah, the illegal immigrants on. You guys want me to watch that next? Like, next stream? Because that's hilarious. Let's see here. I need to see. Oh, wait, what the heck? Why do his tweets look so weird? I'm going to see if he says anything about Jeremy Hambly. Does he say anything? No. I'll just see if he says anything about Jeremy. Jeremy Kinnan. Okay. The quartering. Okay. Nothing on quartering. Weird. Weird. He hasn't said anything about him. Why has he got him blocked? He's... Really wish I knew. He shares schlep stuff. Oh, okay. He hasn't posted in a while. He hasn't posted in a long time. Very, very weird. I don't know. Let me see if I can ask Grok. Why did at a non-bird... Wait, hold on. Is that his full thing, or does he have... Oh, no, just... Okay, with 2 Ds. Okay. Block Jeremy Hambly on... Maybe I could find something out like that. Maybe Grok will Maybe Grok will bring something up. Okay. Interactions and drama between the non-bird and the quartering and the broader web focused on news. Forums like Reddit and drama recaps. There's no publicly documented evidence discussing explaining why Tom, did what he did here. I'm just curious, Let's see. No direct mention, 0 posts, threads, articles referencing a non-bird blocking Hambly or any feud, call out a response to either side. Hambly frequently discusses blocks from other creators like Tim Pool and Dave Rubin. What? No, he doesn't. Tim Pool, but a non-bird is not among them? Huh. Let's see. Possible context. Blocks on X are often private and unannounced, especially if low stakes, spam, disagreement, or preemptive avoidance. On non-bird's bio, too much internet suggests he limits... Oh, come on. You're looking into that, Grok? Too much internet suggests he limits exposure to toxic figures, and Hambly is a history of polarizing takes. I don't know. I'd like to see Tom Bird. Turkey Tom there. I'd like to see his block list just out of curiosity. Nothing crazy. I just want to know why. It's interesting. Okay. So, nobody's going to know until he just, says it out loud or something. That's weird. I wonder why. Genuinely wonder why. I wonder if he'll address it at all. We'll have to see. I listen to Turkey Tom every now and then. I've avoided him a little bit after our little disagreement with Bill Burr. I was just like, oh, man. It was just a little disappointing because his argument was so bad. It was just, well, he's just a comedian. You took him serious. He's a comedian. It's like, not an argument. Really not an argument. But oh well. Anyway, guys, I'm going to have to hop off here. Maybe next stream? Oh, wait. Anyone notice they keep saying the killer and dude ain't even had a trial yet? Yay, America. Innocent until proven guilty. Bigots. What? We have him on video. What are you talking about? And also, I don't have to assume anything, whether he's guilty or innocent per se. But he is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But who's they? What do you mean they? I'm genuinely curious. Because I could say, I think they're guilty or not. And I absolutely think the guy's guilty because he was there with a gun and confessed to the crime. He got caught. You know what I mean? I don't know. He's definitely the one who did it. You know what I mean? So I don't understand what you're trying to say. Just curious. But anyway, what do you guys think here? Public opinion? I mean, look, public opinion's public opinion. It just is what it is. But yeah, anyway. I don't know with everything. Oh, sources, Lance drawings. Yeah, I can't show that here. Yeah. So let's see here. So you're not out of your... wait, what's this? You're not out of your depth, Tom. Don't say that. I've been said... Oh, okay. Oh, God. Okay. I wonder if anybody's given him any crap from Candace's channel right now. Local furry almost caused a civil war over crazy bus. Oh, my God. That's crazy. I mean, it will not be much of a trial. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be much of a trial either. I think it's going to... I'm going to stream it, for sure. I'm going to try and stream it here on the 30th. Hopefully everything works out to where I can. And Turkey Tom end up being the guy who gets the inside scoop. Proud to see this day. I mean, yeah, that's cool. I'm happy for him on that. Leaves the table during everyone else's turn in Magic. Confirmed psychopath. Yeah, right. Who should I leak these rare documents to? New York Times, CNN, NBC, Fox. Turkish Tom, Von Gobbler of Glizzy Town. Great. These people come up with the most ridiculous things. The guy literally fried his own brain while everyone just looked on. Yeah, pretty much. That's crazy, right? Nobody got this guy help. That's the problem with pro-trans agenda right here, This guy clearly needed real help. But, of course, the community, trans community, and all these different lawmakers and stuff now are like, oh, we need to affirm his decisions here and keep letting him take all these hormones that are clearly making him insane, After listening to the entire thing, you think it would have been Lance to have done it. Yeah. Well, maybe this kid just wanted a way out, didn't see a way out at all. It was like, I'd rather just end somebody, and have to deal with this for a moment longer. I don't know, Candace is going to mention Turkey. See, this is what I wonder right here. Turkey Tom was working with Bridget Macron to make people think it wasn't Mossad. Yeah, right. I have no doubt that this could be definitely the talking point right there. She's going to say something. She's got to mention Turkey Tom, right? Like, once she gets done fishing, hopefully she has enough time to come back and mention Turkey Tom and see. I want to see what all this is, you know? She'll talk smack on Turk because Kirk told her the real conspiracy that involves a trans Mossad leftist cult that dug a hole. And, yeah, okay, this person's going off the rails with this, trying to be random. Charlie will show up in her dreams again and tell her it's all fake. Oh, right, you know? Such a relief being in a comment section that all agree she's a meme. Well, I am really glad to see that these people aren't like crazy Candace people, you know. Fuentes about to have to cite Turkey Tom. Yeah, that too. And this person's trying to kind of get off that clout too. What does this have to do with Salm? Alrighty. I don't get the joke. Nah, take it for himself with no citation, same as Tom does to all of K. I don't know what KF is. What alternate timeline have we ended up in? I remember when Nick Fuentes was going on dates with Catboys. In fact, that video is still up on... Really? Really? Like, could you have posted a link or something? I would have liked that, you know? She'll probably say he was paid $7,000. Yeah. You know, I have a video I need to put out. I forgot. I put a lot of evidence, or not a lot of evidence. I put a lot of commenters on blast for saying that I was getting paid by Israel $7,000 a month to make content like this. Are you kidding me? I'd have myself a nice studio, like a nice camera setup and all that, and I'd have good video editors. $7,000 a month to do this? Yeah, I'd be investing a little bit more in this channel and making this channel really pay out a lot more money too. I don't make money off of this. It's the wildest thing. All these Candace fans coming and swarming me going, oh, he's getting paid $7,000 a month by Israel. Like hell I am. And if I were, I'd tell you I'd be living a lot better than this, you know? Not that I'm living a bad life. I'm not. I'm just saying, $7,000 a month would be a game changer. You know what I mean? I would be living a nice life. I'd have a lot more guitars too. Like, come on, are you kidding me? Like, I'd have more than 4 guitars. For sure. And only one of them is like a really like expensive guitar, you know? So it's like, yeah. No, I'd be living a nicer lifestyle. Not completely crazy, but I would definitely be like, you know, out on 100 acres. You know, 2,000 square foot home, probably no bigger, but with a studio on the side, you know, about 500 to 1,000 square foot studio. You know, just saying. It would be pretty obvious that I was making $7,000 on a 15,000 sub channel, you know, a month. People are insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah, I'd say whatever they told me for $7,000 a month. Oh, I probably wouldn't do like crazy. Like $7,000 a month isn't like crazy enough for me to do anything. They'd have to pay me more than that. But if I were making $7,000 extra a month, there'd be signs. You know what I mean? Can Israel pay you $7? Yeah, right. I don't know. It's ridiculous. I mean, if they really were going to control every aspect of my life and be like, okay, this is what you're going to do, I'd be like, look, make me rich. You know, $7,000 a month isn't rich. I'd be like, make me rich. Give me, I don't know, $20,000 a month. $20,000 a month. $20,000 a month, you know, they could just buy me right out. No, I'm kidding. You can't buy this. Can't buy this at all. But if I was forced in a position, it'd have to be something crazy, right? Like, I'd be leaking info. It'd be priced less than that for sure. I'd be leaking info like crazy. I don't know why these people are coming up going $7,000 a month. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, dang, if people are selling their souls that, like, for $7,000 a month, there's something wrong. That's crazy. Where do they get the $7,000 from, though? Like, I want to know. Does anybody know where the $7,000 thing started? Like, how do they like get that figure? I really want to know that. Is that like a genuine thing? Is there anybody like paid by Israel that's approximately like $7,000 or something that someone was caught in? That'd be an interesting. I want to know where that lore comes from. Let's see. Is there anything else crazy? Why did this friend take so many pictures of Lance's journal in a messy table? Because he saw how much of a psychopath that was. If I had to deal with that to that degree where these people were screaming and yelling at me, I would start archiving stuff like that too. Genuinely. Like, I would hate that situation so much, and I'd be like, look, I've got to show people how crazy this person is. Why is my buddy stuck in this situation? with this psychopath. You know what I mean? Seems like propaganda. The friend, not anything on this creator. The friend, not anything on Turkey Tom. I see what he's saying. It could be propaganda. It's not that it's impossible. It's just, need proof. I really need, I really need evidence. And Candace Owens is really bad about giving evidence out. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. It really helps out a lot. I'm going to hop off here, guys. I got to help get these kiddos down to bed because Mama's not going to be too happy if I don't help out. And, yeah, all that good stuff. Seriously, I appreciate y'all being here. It's a lot. It means a lot. I should stream again probably Thursday. So if y'all have any ideas that you want me to stream, join my Discord down, linked in the description below. Join there. You could send me videos there and stuff that I may watch during the live stream. That would be awesome. I'd really appreciate it. Seriously, thank you all. I really, really appreciate y'all being in the stream. It means a lot to me. You guys are awesome. It keeps growing more and more every day. And having you guys here be a part of it and going through this, just a fun experience. I've had a really good time. Thank you all again. I'll see you guys here in the next one. I'll be uploading videos all throughout the week. Don't worry. I'm not like going dark. It's just, streams. Can't do it on work nights very easily. And yeah, we got a crazy schedule. I'm gonna try and be more consistent. If I get more people in here, more subscriptions, more likes, all that good stuff, maybe I'll be able to stream more often. I don't know. I'm going to try and make more effort into streaming more often. It's just difficult. I work nights. Wife works days. We don't have our kids in daycare, so things, I'm tired a lot. But anyway, thank you all, and I'll see you guys here in the next video. Later. Oh, oops, I'm on the wrong thing again. I always do that. What's going on? Here we go.